as a VLA financial advisor for over 20 years, I've had lots and lots of people tell me that their ideal retirement, at least for the first decade, is they want some passive income. And typically what they're talking about there is maybe rental properties. They buy 2 or 3 rental properties and they just sit back and watch the money flow in. Well, I've got a secret for you. Most passive income investments ain't so passive. They take a fair amount of work changing out the water heaters and things like that. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you, during my tenure, during my experience as a financial advisor, what I think is the best passive income strategy. And that's something called dividend stocks. And we're going to talk about 3 different ways you can build a dividend stock portfolio to really have passive income, to have that freedom that most people are looking for when they talk about passive income, without all of the headaches that take place with so many of the other strategies. And the other thing that's nice is we've all heard the phrase that certain things are, quote unquote, a young person's game. Well, dividend stock investing, I would argue, is an older person's game. The older you get, the more money that you've saved up, the more powerful this strategy is, right? And that's because good quality dividend stocks, at least as I record this, are going to be paying in the 3 to 4% range. So if you're a young person and you've saved up $100,000, good for you. It's hard to save $100,000. Like Charlie Munger has said, famously said, you got to do whatever you can to save that first 100,000. But, we can all do the math. 3 or 4% of 100,000 is $3,000 or $4,000 a year. And that's nice. But nobody's going to retire off of that, right? But as we build up our net worth, as we build up our investment accounts, 3 or 4% of that can be a really nice number. And then on top of that, hopefully you have the appreciation of those dividend stocks. Now, anything that can go up can also go down, and we're going to talk about that. Okay, so what types of companies are you looking for? What are these 3 strategies? So the first strategy is you invest in individual companies. And I think this is the best strategy, but I think you also have to be careful because it takes a lot of research, not just to find these companies, but also to continually monitor them and make sure that they're still what you want that company to be doing. What at high level, what I think makes for a good dividend paying company. And you have to be careful because there's a lot of companies that'll pay a 7 or 8% or even more dividend. But you know why they're paying that dividend rate? Because they have to, right? They're using it. It's like in the wild kingdom, right? Animals like the white-tailed deer, have a white-tailed deer. That's to attract their mates. And an 8%, a 10% plus dividend, that's to attract investors. So buyer beware. You don't want to just look at the dividend rate. In fact, I would argue that's the last thing that you want to look at. It comes into it, but it comes in at the end. So I think most people are best served working with a professional. What I'm going to share with you today is not investment advice. It's not financial advice. I don't know your situation. And please don't take any financial advice from anybody on YouTube, right? You want somebody that knows your situation and is going to work with you to find the right situation for you. So what I look for in dividend stocks and what I think makes a good dividend stock is really a company that is paying a dividend because they're in a great business, they have great cash flows, they have a competitive advantage, and they have excess cash flows that they want to share with their shareholders. They're not reinvesting all of their cash flows generated from their operations into the company. And I think the right ratio there is maybe half of the cash flows get reinvested into new opportunities, new market segments, just making sure that they stay competitive and they stay the leader, they maintain their market position. So maybe half to 2/3 goes back into operations, but the other half to 1/3 goes out to their investors. Now, a lot of these big dividend paying companies actually have a fair amount of debt on their books. And frankly, they have no business paying out dividends if they have to borrow all this debt, if it's leveraging the company, and it's, in my opinion, it's making the company riskier. And I call that financial engineering. So some companies are dividend payers because of financial engineering. I like solid operating companies. Oftentimes, these are companies that you and I have heard of. They've got great brand names. I'm not going to mention any names. This video, is not about stock picking. It's really about putting things on your radar screen. So you can decide, do you do this research yourself or do you hire a professional? Secret here, hire a professional when it comes to this, because it really is hard to find the right dividend payers and then just to do the research to keep up on it. And the other thing is you have to do it on a consistent basis. Okay, so that's one strategy. Another strategy is another way to hire professionals is just to use an exchange-traded fund or a mutual fund that is focused on high-quality dividend-paying companies. And let them do the work. So that's another strategy that you can do. And let's take a break from these two strategies and let's talk about one of the other things that I think is really important that we look for in dividend stocks, and that is having a history of raising that dividend over time at a rate greater than inflation. Because if you can get that, then you're keeping up with inflation every year. And oftentimes these solid companies actually raise their dividend rate faster than the rate of inflation. So if you started off and you're getting dividend payments for $50,000 a year, just to make an example out of your portfolio stocks, the goal is in 3 years for your purchasing power to also feel like the $50,000 and hopefully more. And then in the ideal world, if you've chosen the companies well, if the market's cooperated, not only are you getting these dividends, but again, you get that stock appreciation. And, for many people, owning appreciated stocks, particularly as we get older, and frankly, to be candid, as we get closer to death, the United States tax system, I'm not an accountant, this isn't tax advice, but gives people a step up in basis on what they paid for their stock. So if you paid $100 for the stock and it's now worth $1,000 when you pass, your heirs, your children, let's say that you have kids and you're giving it to your kids, it's going to feel to them as if they paid $1,000 for that stock. So you get that step up in basis. So that's another powerful thing about the dividend stocks. And then the third strategy, don't forget dividend stocks are still stocks, right? And what do stocks do? They go up and down in value. And that volatility can be really gut-wrenching for people, particularly as we retire, as we get older, as we're no longer earning an income. How we feel about risk can change. So for most of us, having 100% of our portfolio in stocks, even if they're dividend stocks as we get older, is not a match. So the third strategy is just recognizing that. And we have some dividend stocks, and we also have some high-quality, short-duration bonds in the portfolio to also generate income for us. And right now, as I record this, 4% is pretty reasonable to get from a portfolio of bonds like that. So 4% from the dividends, 4% from the bonds, you can be in a nice place. If you want to learn more about the dividend strategy, you can watch this video up here where I talk about, frankly, that's my plan in retirement is to do this. So thanks for watching this video. I'll see you in there. Bye-bye.